bye week, 1/3 of the way through the season, just kind of overall reflection. How's it feel at this point right now in January?
Yeah, it feels good, I think as a team we're a confident group, so, it feels good to be, where we're at mentally. Physically, I feel like, a lot of us are, knock on wood, feeling good right now too, so that's always a good thing. Standings-wise, it's the season ups and downs, right? I think, we're happy with our record, but, obviously you want to win every game, so we feel like we let a couple slip from us too this season, so, I think, there's a lot to learn from, but there's also a lot to build off of too, a lot of positives. So, I think we're really happy with, how it's been so far.
I mean, overall, you look at Vancouver as the team you're going to face this week and next week. Last time you saw them, it was the end of the season last year. Just what's the feeling in the locker room to get a chance to play against this team this week?
I think it's just, the same as every week. Obviously, it stinks when it's when your season ends. So obviously this one, might be a little bit, bigger for us than just a normal game. It's obviously the team that ended our season last year, as you said. But, at the end of the day, it's another game. It's another great team. It's another game to, separate in the standings. I think there's a big clump of teams right now in that 3, 4, 5 win range. So I think a win for us here tonight against a great team who's, has a similar record to us would be huge for us, and especially going into their house next weekend, which is a tough place to play as well, just like this is. So, I think our minds really aren't, we tried to refresh a little bit and, not worry about the past. So obviously last year's in our mind is fuel, is in training and preparation. But at the end of the day, we don't want to go out there and just, play with anger and play, kind of out of our, how we normally do. So we're taking it just as a normal game and just trying to get another win.
After the Toronto game, you guys all seemed from Coach Hazen down a little bit frustrated about your effort and like some things you guys left on the field. What did you guys talk about in the bye week and work on in practice that you guys really focused on after that game?
I think it's just sticking to what we do well. I think this league is so good that, anyone can win any game. I think not that we looked over them by any means, but I think when we had that lead, we kind of took our foot off the gas a little bit, and then, it could be a 1-minute lull, it could be a 30-second, it could be a 10-minute lull, whatever it is, that other team's building that momentum, and it's hard to gain momentum back in this league, in a lacrosse game. So, for us, it's just we got to prepare, for every team the same that we do every week. We also have to, give our best effort every night, because if we don't, we'll lose, and it's as simple as that. So we're prepared for this week, and we're going to be ready to give 100%.
Speaking of guys that always give 100%, Zed Williams is really starting to come into his own in this offense with you guys. How have you guys seen him progress this season working into the offense, and how important is he to this offensive system?
His progression's been awesome. I think if you ask him too, he knew he was coming into obviously a team, but offensively and specifically with a bunch of guys who have played together a lot in the past. It didn't seem like he really wanted to, step on any toes, or, he just kind of wanted to, play a role that this team needed. But at the end of the day, I think he's getting more comfortable with us guys and with the coaches, and also realizing that, he's here for a reason, and he's a tremendous asset to, for any team to have. So we're really lucky to have him. And, I think he's really getting more confident out there and feeling like, it's not like it's stepping on anyone's toes. It's doing what we need to win. And, I think he's taking it that way now. And you see, his progression, with his confidence in carrying the ball. Obviously, he was coming off an injury, and, he's confident back from that already. So it's just a lot of that side of it. And he's he's as good as it gets, and he does it with the ball, he does it without the ball. And, we're just so lucky to have him. So he's been huge for us.
And obviously, away from the Knighthawks, you're a huge Bills fan. Your thought on Joe Brady, the new head coach of the Buffalo Bills?
Excited for, obviously, I think their Coach McDermott there was great. So it's sad to see him leave. But I think Joe Brady's, he seems like the guys like him over there, and I'm sure you know it more than I do, being over there all the time. But it seems like he's a great guy. So I'm excited to see what they got next year.
I have a question for you. So tonight's Military Appreciation Night. And lo and behold, your father, Peter, who served in the Army, is going to be doing the ceremonial face-off. You'll be out there as well. How cool is that to share that experience with your dad?
Man, it's I don't think words can really describe it. I think just grateful for anyone who serves for our country. Obviously, it's a tremendous honor, and it's something it's why we're here today, right? And I think those guys who protect the front line of this country is it's cool that they get honored in games like these, and for it to be my dad out there, who I've obviously idolized my whole life, and know how much he's done for us and our family, but know also he served for our country too, right? And it's just gonna be a really cool moment to see him and all the other military people just get that recognition that they deserve, because they should be getting recognized every day for all they do.
As you mentioned earlier, it's back-to-back games against Vancouver. Does this kind of feel like a playoff series almost?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does to a point. I think these 2 weeks could go a lot of ways, right? We could separate in the standings. They could separate in the standings since we're right there, by one or same record or whatnot. But I just think these two games are huge, and obviously this one being at home first is huge, because obviously playing with a home crowd, you feel that energy behind you. So we're hoping and going to do everything we can to get the win tonight, so we could go into next weekend confident. And obviously it's going to be a tough place to play there. So I think it's definitely a huge point in the season for us.
You're averaging more than 7.5 points a game so far this season. What can you say about your teammates that keep setting you up for these ridiculous stat lines?
It's them. It really is them. It's the guys who first, it's the guys who make it happen with, open up space on the floor, getting on the floor hard, setting hard picks. Those are the guys who don't get the recognition as much as others, and those are the guys who really make the offense work. And, for me in specific, I'm appreciative of all the work they do, because I find myself with, a ton of space and wide open a lot, and I just try to, hit my shots. So it's something you kind of go into every season preparing, and you want to be better than the last season. So, and I think our group as a whole offensively has done that. I think we're taking that next step, and, it could be anyone's night. I know you mentioned my stats, but there's, a lot of guys on this team who are having statistically better seasons than they have in the past. And I think it's just a testament to our group, our chemistry, and also, playing for each other and just playing to win.
So you've got the Canadiens head on. You're a big Canadiens fan. They got another big one with the Sabres. Any thoughts on the game?
I'm excited. It's been a fun season, I think, for both teams. I think they're both really good teams. I think I'm one of the bigger Canadiens fans, at least from around here. I love watching them. I try to go to every game when they play in Buffalo, and I think they're both fun young teams to watch. So I think the sky's the limit for both those teams, but hopefully the Habs get this win coming up.